Hi, I'm Jenny, and in today's Q&A, we are going to, amongst other things, talk about Grand Seiko and my thoughts on it, how I buy a new watch, why I don't mind people who flex, and the Rolex sleeper line. So let's get started. So you have submitted your questions on Instagram and on YouTube, so let's not waste any more time and start with the first one right now. If you had to choose between an ultimate Grail watch, A. Lange & Söhne or JLC, or 5 watches to switch between, Omega, Rolex, Tudor, or whatever adds up in equal value, what would you get? Well, I guess this is basically the argument between having one watch that is like a total 10, like on a scale of 1 to 10, and having 5 watches that are somewhere between, I don't know, like a 7 or 9. You know what? I think I would go for the 5 watches because, there's 2 reasons for it mainly. First one is that personally my Grail, although it doesn't really change that much, I sometimes fluctuate between a couple of watches that are like my all-time Grails. There's obviously the Rainbow Daytona, but then there is also the Vanta Black from Moser, which I really love. And just having one watch, even though it would be my Grail, I don't know, I think I would kind of be over it someday, perhaps. I don't know, I've never owned my Grail before. So I think I would rather go for, and that's the second reason, because I want to do have the variety and I do change my mind. I would go for the 5 watches instead of just the one Grail. But I don't know, let me know in the comments down below what you think. I feel like it's either this or that type of person out there. Thanks for the question. That was a great question, Nicola. Next up from Weeby Cupid, what do you think of a Seiko Cocktail Time as a first dress watch? Well, I think it is a great choice. It is readily available. You can choose between different sizes and dial colors and different complications. And I even got myself one this summer. I got the red dial 34mm edition. And I really like it. It's a very fun summer watch. It's very lightweight. I've put it on a red leather strap to match it. It's a very affordable one from Amazon. And I really enjoy it. And I think it's also not your regular schmegular type of dress watch. It's a bit different, I think it definitely does stand out between your typical dress watches. So I definitely recommend it. I think it's a great watch. I would say it's not just a dress watch. I think you could wear it very sporty as well. I haven't seen it on a NATO yet. I don't know if that would work, but I feel it's very versatile. I really like it, especially as a summer watch when you get the very bright colors. For example, the light blue is very nice as well. It totally works. And yeah, go for it if that's what you like. I totally agree with you. Next question from Franz. And the question is accuracy still important these days, or should luxury watches focus more on materials and exclusivity? And there's been a couple of comments on that question, and I really like this one because it did make me think about all that stuff that surrounds luxury watches and mechanical watches. And well, I have to say that it is sort of a sensitive topic, isn't it? Because it kind of gets to that question whether or not mechanical watches have even a right to exist, so to say. Because, back in the day, it always sounds so dramatic. You did not have a phone or anything like that with you. So you would depend on the accuracy of your wristwatch to know what time it is, But nowadays, that's just not that important anymore, I would say, at least not to me. See, for me, it's not the top priority, even though it is in the top 5 things, I would say. It's not the number 1 priority. Personally, I think when it comes to luxury watches, you pay a premium price and everything. If there is a plus or minus 5 seconds per day accuracy, I can totally live with it. That's fine. When it comes to haute horlogerie, I think I do expect the whole art of it to also include accuracy in it. I think isn't that the challenge that you ultimately want to succeed in. But in general, I don't know. I don't feel like accuracy is that important anymore. But that's just me personally. Let me know in the comments what you think. See, the thing is, when I look for a watch, and I will get to that question later on because someone asked about my sort of checklist before buying a watch. There's so many things that go into my buying decision. I mean, accuracy is one of them, but it's not like the first thing that I think about. So yeah, I think it definitely isn't up there anymore, and there's a lot more focus on exclusivity and materials and that sort of thing. Next question is from Halbert, and the question is, what's your thought on Grand Seiko? Any recommended models? Well, I know I haven't posted a video on Grand Seiko yet, but fingers crossed that this is about to change soon. Yeah, I do like Grand Seiko. I haven't held one besides the Snowflake before. I have to say it's incredible. The precision is insane. It's perfect. I mean, the Snowflake dial is just incredible to look at. I really like the titanium models. They're so lightweight, and I really do like that. I know some people really dislike lightweight watches, which is fine. The thing with Grand Seiko I also appreciate is with Grand Seiko I feel like I have a good overview of their like collection, because you've got three main lines. You've got the elegance, you've got the sports, and then you've got the heritage. And I feel like it doesn't overwhelm me, you know, and I do appreciate that. I like that. I mean, you can immediately sort of tell when you see a Grand Seiko, like, oh, this is from the heritage collection, or this is probably like from the elegance line. And so any recommended models? Well, I really, really do like the new GMT. I will put a photo somewhere here on the screen. The blue colored one. I really like the color scheme. I mean, I know it's a blue watch, so it's not that like exciting, but it's very pleasing to the eye. And then there's also a GMT where it has this dark blue mix with yellow gold. And I have to say that when it comes to mixing yellow gold with any type of color, I don't think many brands succeed in that, because they always, for me at least, get the colors a bit wrong, or like the yellow gold is a bit too yellowy. So my two exceptions to that would be the yellow gold Rolex Submariner and this GMT from Grand Seiko. But that being said, when I touched on the thing about perfection and everything, the thing about Grand Seiko for me is they are so perfect to the point where, to me, feel a bit distant. You know, when something's a bit too perfect, you're a bit like, ooh, that's way too perfect. I don't know, it might be just in my head, but that's just always what I kind of think about in the back of my head when I see Grand Seiko. I'm like, oh, they're great, they're perfect, but they're like perfect. And you know, flaws are human. Perhaps that's why we're so drawn to them. And I'm excited if I can show you a Grand Seiko soon. Next question from, is that iSassy 007? Sorry for mispronouncing that one. Anyways, a question is, with the recent death of Sean Connery, the original 007, what watch is your favorite, Omega or Rolex Bond watch? And he says, or she says, I can guess you would say Rolex Sub is your favorite Bond watch. Well, and yeah, you are right. I really do like the 6538 that he wore in the first movie. And I think he continued to wear it for the next one as well. I'm not so sure. I'm not the biggest James Bond fan, to be honest. I mean, the movies are entertaining. I've never read the novels. I like it that much because, or I like it the best because A, it does really fit Sean Connery's portrayal of James Bond. You know, the watch goes really well with it, I think. I mean, I wasn't alive back then, but I feel like the 4-digit Submariner models, it's sort of this feeling of how back then these watches were like the real thing for like real men. And, you know, they were more honest back then about the tool watch character of Rolex. I think this is a very nostalgic feeling towards these reference numbers, and that's why I like them best, I guess. I mean, there's nothing wrong with modern 6-digit reference numbers, Rolex Submariners, but they do get a bad rep. And if that's justified or not is totally up to you. But you know, nowadays the modern subs do get a bit of a like weird look, I feel, from some people. So I feel like this classic 6538 is sort of an icon, not only because it's a Bond watch, but also like this iconic Submariner, and I do like it for that. Okay, we're going to switch over to Instagram because I also asked on Instagram about questions. And the first one from Instagram comes from EPTX Live. And the question is, which watch surprised you the most under a macro lens, for better or for worse? I think I even said it in one of my videos. The Omega Seamaster Diver 300M, the white dial, black bezel, that under a macro lens was insane. So perfect. The wave pattern was perfect. The hour markers were so sharp. It almost looked like a rendering. I loved it. Like when I sat down as that video, it was amazing. I kept on replaying the macro shots, so that was such a surprise. I don't think I have like a bad example of that. But yeah, that one, if you haven't seen the video yet, go check it out after this one. It's really great. And those macro shots are intense. I really like it. Next up, a question from Mick Brandon. What up, Jen? Can you share your thought process / checklist when you buy a new watch? And like I said a couple of minutes earlier, we're going to touch on my checklist of buying a new watch, basically. And well, the first thing is, and I think that's with everybody, you see a watch and it sparks your interest, right? And then before I even do any more research about like specs and all that stuff, I check the price and like the availability, or basically where to get it from, if it's like available online, if I have to go to a brick and mortar store. And if it's too pricey, then I'm just not going to go any further with it because I don't want to break my own heart. So yeah, if it's something that I can afford at the time, if you know, sometimes you do have like some sort of budget in the back of your head where you're like, okay, I could spend this much on a new watch. And so if that's okay, I'm going to research all the specs, you know, things like movement, case diameter, different colors if available. I also love watching reviews about it, reading blog posts, just to see like what other people think of it, if there are things out there that you should be aware of before buying it, you know. So I look for these informations, and then I try to take my time and really, you know, let it sink in and everything. Because what you really do not want to do is make an impulse buy. I mean, been there, done that, and it feels great for like the first couple of minutes. But then that very uncomfortable feeling starts to sink in that this might not be the best idea yet. So I do want to make sure that I take my time with the decision, you know, try to get a feel for it, if that's really the right thing to do right now, or if it's just me wanting something new just for the sake of having something new. And then time goes by, and then I'm going to buy it. And that's about it. I think it's pretty similar to what most people do if they're not like super rich. And that would be my sort of checklist before buying a watch. Next question from John Chaton. What's worse to you, flexing or knowing it all? Well, I really do love that question, John. Thank you for that. If I have to decide between someone who's like flexing with their watch and someone who's like a big know-it-all, I would always go for the flexer for two reasons. The first one, if you encounter someone who's like flexing, such a weird word, in real life, for example, like someone is like a super show off with their watches, most of the time when you notice that and you acknowledge that and, you know, I don't know, like give that person a compliment and be like, hey, I noticed your watch and it looks really great. They light up, most cases. They get really happy about it. And you know, it's oftentimes it just comes from a place of like insecurity and just wanting attention, which is fine. I mean, we're all humans. And when you give that person that feeling of being seen or heard or whatever, it makes them really happy and they get really excited. And then I feel like if you acknowledge that show-offiness in a positive way, then it makes the whole situation much better. But then on the other side, when you've got someone who's like a big know-it-all, I feel they're just very exhausting. I don't know how to deal with know-it-alls because like you can just go and nod and be like, yeah, right. So I haven't yet developed a tactic or a strategy for shutting down know-it-alls, but I think dealing with people who like flex is easy. I mean, it's a bit different online, I guess, but if I see something online, I just scroll past it. I guess that's just it, and I think that's what we all should do. Life advice by Jenni. Next question from Loop the Loop. Pretty sure I mispronounced that, but I like it that way. Do you rotate wearing all the watches in your collection or just go with what you fancy? I pretty much go with whatever I fancy that day, depending on what I'm doing that day, what I'm wearing. Then I just go with whatever watch I think works best. I don't really have like a rotation. I think some people actually do that, don't they? Where they have like a Monday to Wednesday, a Wednesday to Friday watch, and then something for the weekend. Is that a thing? I think I did read about something like that. Loop the Loop, if you are watching this, what do you do? Is that something you do, like have a rotation system? Or like, let's say you wear this watch for a week and then put it back and then wear another one? I don't know. I just do whatever. And that's the thing. On a little side note, sometimes it happens that I'm not wearing a watch for like weeks and weeks, and I do kind of feel bad. I don't know. Do you know that feeling where you feel a bit bad for like certain watches because they don't really get that much attention, which sometimes can be a sign of falling out of love with a watch, and then it might have to go. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Next question from RG Soto: buying watches on credit, yay or nay? And that's like 100% nay from me. I would not buy any non-essential items on credit. I mean, you can define, like everyone defines essential things for themselves. Like, I mean, my essential things might not be your essential things. So if it's not essential, do not buy it on credit. I think that's pretty good life advice, isn't it? Definitely a big no to buying watches on credit. Because I mean, you don't need that Daytona when you're starving, do you? I hope not. Last question for today comes from Watch Gnosis. Is the Yachtmaster 40 the sleeper in the Rolex range? Would you consider the 37mm version? Well, I absolutely do agree with you. It does feel like the Yachtmaster 40 and 37 are somewhat of a sleeper. And I can't really tell you why, to be honest, because I really like them. I myself am a big fan of the, I call it the White Walker, the light grey dial with the light blue color accents, because it does remind me of the Night King from Game of Thrones. And it's such a great watch. And that 37mm, it fits perfectly on my wrist. I think it looks much better on my wrist as any Submariner. And I don't really understand why people seem to overlook this one. Because that's the thing. I see a lot of Submariners on wrists and I think like, oh, that might be a bit too bulky for you. I think those could really benefit from a 37mm Yachtmaster, in my opinion at least. So I am excited to see where the Yachtmaster is going, and I really hope that Rolex shows that range some more love. That would be cool to see. And so that was my Q&A for today's video. Thank you so much for submitting all your questions on YouTube and on Instagram. If you haven't already, make sure to follow me on Instagram if you like, or subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see more videos like that. And also hit the little bell icon, because not many people do that. So you will get a notification whenever I post something new. And that was it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!